All right, YouTube, we're coming at you. Here comes our intro.
All
Intro
right, you ready?
musical. Count me in, Broham.
And a three, and a two, and a one, and a click.
Hello and welcome to another episode of No Plans to Merge. I'm your host, Caleb Porzio.
I'm your host, Daniel Colburn.
That's burn, not born.
Burn.
Even though it's
Technically, yeah,
spelled
it's burn.
O-U-R-N-E.
I say born to people when I need them to know how to spell it off the bat.
Right. But then burn to
Like if I'm at the
insiders
DMV or
like
somewhere.
us.
Right. So like if I'm telling someone what my Twitter handle is, I say D Colborn because I
Right,
want them to
right.
type it in correctly.
But if you're telling someone like, what? What's the opposite?
If I'm just like saying hey to a dude on the street, like, hey, what's up, Daniel Colburn? Good to meet you.
Word, right. Daniel Coburn.
Because
Burn,
especially
burn,
if I
burn.
don't want someone to successfully Google me, you know?
Good idea.
Like if I'm
Obfuscate
trying
your
to
last name.
stay under the radar. Right.
I like it. You know,
Like
Porzio was
you should call yourself
originally.
Caleb Persia.
Yep, that works. Persia. um, Porzio was originally Porco in the motherland,
Porthio.
and
Mm-hmm.
and it got changed along the way. I'm pretty glad about that. I'm pretty sure Porco means pig.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm. Caleb the pig.
Caleb the pig. You know what? I'd be all right with that.
Yeah.
Thanks for loving me either way.
How you doing,
people.
bud? Yeah, I've Ben loved you. Gonna keep doing it. Pig or no
Thanks,
pig.
Deke.
Uh-huh.
Deke, we got a few things to cover here today. But
Sure
first,
do.
we should talk about Rogue Amoeba updates because you started to say this, and I was like, "Hey, save it."
Yeah, Audio Hijack is an excellent piece of software by Rogue Amoeba for the Mac.
Thank you
and
for
you can
sponsoring
use
the
it to
show,
record
Rogue.
audio.
Dude, we
Yeah,
forgot to
thank
do the
you,
sponsor bit.
Oh my, we never forgot. Well, this episode is brought to you by Rogue Amoeba. They didn't pay for this.
Yep.
Rogue Amoeba, they make software for the Mac. I use it all. And one of them is Audio Hijack. And Audio Hijack is what I use to record. It basically like takes audio streams and records them and does all kinds of stuff. So like I have like a level meter. I'm recording Caleb's audio at the same time in case his internet craps out or his computer breaks.
Thanks, bud.
So yeah, anyway, I was just commenting on the fact that literally every week when we record the podcast, there's an update to Audio Hijack, and I can't imagine what could possibly be changing.
Right.
You know,
So,
like it's such
I
a
agree.
utilitarian and simple app. It's like what features need to be updated to this?
And I've noticed I wanted to riff on this bias that I've uncovered for myself.
Mm-hmm.
That I think that all software is really like, you know what? I don't want to say easy to write. I don't think that. I think that the stuff I use that works is just like good and will work forever for everyone. And I'm like, you know, I was so this came up. I was talking to Jonathan Rennick. He's working on Inertia.js, and it's a long way out. It's a ton of work. Working on Inertia.js 1.0.
Uh-huh.
And in my mind, I'm like, can't you just tag 1.0? Like, don't much. I've used it. Like, just give it the tag, bro. Like,
Yeah.
what else do you need? And I could see someone else being like, dude, like Taylor asked me at one point, he's like, so like, are you done? Like with Livewire, like, is it good now? Is it all settled? Like, what else would you
Right.
need? And I'm like, dude, bro, oh my gosh, you know?
Nowhere near it.
But in my mind, or like Tailwind, when I think about like Tailwind, I'm like, wait, what? Like,
Yeah, there's a class for every
done?
CSS attribute. Like, what's left?
Like, do you have anything else to do, Adam? Aren't you just done?
Yeah.
Like, I've used it a lot, and it's fine.
Got to keep adding things like animate spin.
Yeah, right. Did you know about that before?
Yeah. Chris showed it to me.
Word. Yeah, bro. There's a bunch of cool animates. I just found them in the docs and was like, "Ooh, doggy."
Yeah, it's
Didn't know
wild
about that.
stuff. Wild stuff.
So anyway, do you have that bias? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I mean, as with everything, I assume that everything is less work that other people do, and everything I do is more work.
Yes, that's it, Daniel. You've captured it perfectly.
Couldn't you just do whatever?
Right? Isn't it like fine?
Yeah. Just ship it, dude.
It works for me.
Ship it, squirrel.
So we got a few real banger topics on the
Oh
show
yeah,
today.
dude.
And we
Oh
really
yeah,
only
dude.
have one real banger topic.
Yeah,
No, two and a half.
2.5 banger topics.
So I got Laracon Online.
You got Laracon Online. You doing the
Tomorrow
talk?
I'm going to be online at Laracon Online.
Yeah, I just heard your talk.
Yep. Daniel just helped a brother out, watched my talk, and has nothing but raving reviews.
Yep.
Go
Uh,
buy your
but
ticket.
but Caleb didn't update Chrome, and so the whole time I was just bothered by the update Chrome button in the top right.
Yeah. Yep.
Drive me crazy.
It's tough. So, the problem with that is like, why do I need to update Chrome? Isn't it
Right.
good enough?
Just to make the button go away.
You know?
Yeah. Isn't it done?
Isn't
Aren't you
it
done,
done?
Chrome?
Did you finish Chrome? And so, Daniel, you have a few things to talk about.
Boy, oh boy, do I. Caleb, the day has come. The day has finally come. And it's been a day that we've been talking about for a long time, you and I.
Long
And it's a
awaited
day that I've been talking about for longer than I even knew you.
since you were a wee lad.
Since I was a wee lad. Uh, I'm out. So I've put in my 2 weeks. I'm like working out my 2 week notice right now. And I am going full time freelance.
What up?
So yeah, I'm super, super, super excited. So yeah, I guess the backstory on this is like the last like couple jobs I've had, I've gone into those jobs saying like, this is going to be my last job.
Yeah. And
Right.
like you even tell the people.
So
Like I remember
yeah,
like it was like common knowledge. Like Dan and Matt were like, oh yeah, and Daniel's just here until he's not. Like
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
don't know, like you like come at them with they're like, well, what's your future at the company? And you're like,
I think I told
well,
them this is
hoping to leave.
hopefully going to be my last job. Yeah.
Would love to not have a job.
Right. Well,
No offense to your job.
and I think that's always been my thing. And I've always treated jobs as like there's something I can learn here, and then once I've learned it, I can leave. Right.
Yeah.
Um, and Titan was a great job for me because like I learned a ton about agency stuff and client stuff and software dev practices and task management and all of the types of stuff that's really valuable in
Right. Like
freelancing.
Jira and
Oh
stand
boy,
ups
the
and
things I learned about Jira.
the good
No,
stuff.
but and then working internationally has been really valuable because I had never worked on a product team before, right? I only worked in agencies, and so getting to just be inside of a product team and see the life cycle of like you create a feature, you work on that feature for a super long time because all the
Right.
features have like big impacts on all the other parts of the
It's like a
system.
real
And
app that people actually use.
yeah, and it's like if you mess something up, like every section of the site currently has 60 people using it,
Yeah. Yeah.
so like it's anything will break if you ship it bad, and it's just it was
Ship
a
it
good
badly.
experience. No, if you ship it bad,
Right,
like
right, right.
bad to the
Like
bone. Yeah,
badass shipment.
badass shipment. Yeah. um so now I've got extensive agency experience, and like now I have like 1 year of product experience,
Sure thing.
and
Yeah.
that's super valuable. But like when I left Titan, I thought that I had gotten to the point where I was like bored and kind of tired of having that job.
Yep.
um and I kind of quickly realized that I'm actually just kind of bored and tired of having jobs, and that
For
like
sure.
having like a grind that that doesn't change and doesn't evolve and doesn't sort of allow me to like set my own goals and chase
Yeah,
them.
that you don't like have a meaningful stake in.
Yeah. And also that I can't express my preferences in my own goals, right? That
Sure.
my goals are established by other people, right?
Yeah. Yep.
um it kind of I just like realized that I think I might be at the point where like that's no longer a good fit for me,
Yeah.
and I just want to direct my own life, and that there's increased risk in doing that, right? Like uh there could be a point where I don't have work, and it's scary to go freelance because like what if you can't land the clients you need to land? um but I think there's increased reward too because I can, in the good times when I have multiple clients I'm talking to or whatever, I can make decisions about what sorts of projects I want to work on, what sorts of stacks I want to work in. I can,
Right.
start specifically seeking out Livewire and Alpine clients and writing Livewire and Alpine all day. I can start, these are the things that I want to do, right? Like I want to choose my own direction,
Yep.
chart my own course. So yeah, I'm doing that, and I'm really excited. I have a MacBook Pro arriving today because I now need to buy my
Oh,
own computer
nice.
because this is my work computer that I have sitting here. So my MacBook Pro M1 arrives
Word.
today, um,
Congratulations.
and yeah, I'm really excited. So I have a 3-month contract with Titan. It's a subcontract through Titan to one of their existing clients who I can't name. Um,
Just name them.
I can't
Just
do
do
it.
it.
Can't do it. But shout out to friends of the show, Matt and Dan, for always hooking it up.
Thanks, Matt and Dan.
Um,
Real dudes.
and I'd been having some sort of side conversations with Matt about I'm ready to go. I just don't know who the client is going to be, who's going to come along and give me a long enough contract that I can feel safe to quit and then spend some time using the podcast and Twitter and the channels that I have to like develop my next clients,
For sure.
because I didn't want to just like blatantly disrespect my work by like seeking seeking clients to leave publicly,
For sure.
so
Yeah,
now that
that's a tough one.
yeah, but now I've got basically a 3-month contract starting on the 29th that gives me 3 months of runway to basically line up the next gig. So you, the listener, if you've got a big freelance project you
This
want to
is where
bring the
you
boy
come
on
in.
for,
So
listen, we've been providing you free content forever,
for
and
real,
it's
I'm getting
time
sick
for
of
me
it.
to monetize. And here's what we're gonna do: you're gonna hire Daniel to do some work on your thing.
Wait, but who's gonna hire Daniel?
You, the listener, the
Right, but
user,
describe the
the
listener.
developer.
What kind of work do they have for
Well,
Daniel?
and yeah, so this is the thing, right? Is like
They're looking for
I'm a Laravel developer.
WordPress work.
I'm a Laravel developer, right? So I'll work on Laravel projects. I have a lot of experience in React and Vue and React Native, and those things. So I'm happy to do those things. But what I'm really after right now is like tall stack stuff, right? So
Not Crystal.
Crystal would be
Not
super
Crystal Way.
fun, honestly. If someone wanted to pay me to write Crystal with the little amount of Crystal that I know, I would absolutely take their money.
You're the right guy for the job.
I am, honestly. My experience with the Crystal ecosystem makes me think I know as much Crystal as anybody does.
And I respect that.
um, but yeah, like I want tall stack work. I want Livewire. I want Alpine. I want to, go work on the things that I'm interested in.
So you the listener who's got their tall stack app going, or got that new startup idea, or got that old startup idea gone super successful.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel's your guy. Scoop him up. Get in touch. How do we get in touch with you, Daniel? What's the best way?
Twitter, dude. D Colborn.
Deke? Is
Colborn.
it Deke Colborn?
No, it's DCOULBOURNE. Follow me on Twitter if you don't follow me on Twitter, and then hit me up. Or it's
Your DMs are
Daniel.
open, of course.
My DMs are open, and it's Daniel@kolb.com, COULB.com.
Daniel@kolb.com. Love it.
Yeah.
Go hire Daniel so he can be a really successful freelancer and not have a real job, and get your company featured on the show, unless you sign a contract telling him not to.
In which case I won't. But
In which case you won't.
why wouldn't you want me to
Why
talk about
wouldn't
your
you want
great
him? You
app
want to?
on the show?
Here's your big debut. You want to get on the show? Hire Daniel, and
Yeah,
we'll
hire
talk
me.
about
Uh-huh.
your thing.
Yeah,
You might
there you
trash
go.
it. Just
Yeah, I'm super excited, dude. I'm super excited. And I'm not going to take more than 32 hours a week of work. So I'm leaving myself a 20% time day. And I'm going to use that for whatever I think is a cool direction to go in. So that could be open source. That could be taking on sort of a different type of work that's not programming. So right now I actually took on like a quick little project from a friend of mine who is building a giant iOS app and has he's got like a business partner, and the business partner brought on these developers, and he doesn't have a lot of transparency into what's going on, and he just doesn't feel good about the situation.
Word.
And so he basically hired me to like go in and see what's going on in this project, right?
Oh,
And like,
cool. Yeah.
are these developers screwing me? Like,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
their
That's
work
great.
getting done? Can you dig
Yep.
into the GitHub and see how much code is getting written?
Right.
So I'm just, I'm gonna do 5 to 10 hours of work with him and just kind of sit in on a couple of their stand-up calls. And
Yeah.
it's just like little gigs like that, or like little like you know interesting ideas. Like I want to pursue those, and I want to leave space in my life to have those opportunities, or open source
Or
stuff,
just leave space in your life.
or just have space in my life to to fish or whatever.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, Daniel.
So yeah, that's the situation. I'm extremely excited. I turned 30 in a month, and I've just decided I don't like I would like my 20s to have been the period in my life where I had bosses, and
Yeah.
that's it, and just be done with bosses as I'm done with my 20s, and just kind of turn 30, stop having jobs, you know,
You're old, bro.
roll forward into life. So I'm pretty psyched about it.
I dig it.
And spring is sprung. Like the weather has such a drastic effect on like how optimistic I feel. And so like a new opportunity on the horizon, fresh weather, like a new laptop with new Apple Silicon in it.
Yeah.
It just like feels clean and good, and I'm really optimistic and happy.
That's great, Deke.
Yeah, bud.
Deke, it's great to hear. New beginnings.
New beginnings.
To new
And
beginnings.
cheers. Um yeah, so I mean good news too is like we can all the fun, like we've had all these cool like strategy conversations about your career on the show.
Yeah.
Um but we've never really had like interesting strategy conversations about mine, because
Yeah, we
it's
can
always
never
just been
talk about
like,
anything.
well, and it's like that there's not that much strategizing to do. It's like,
Right.
well, like do the things that you said you were going to do during this sprint,
For
you
sure.
know.
Yep.
um but now, I'm more nimble, and I can make more meaningful decisions about the direction of my career. And so I'm interested to have those conversations in public, and I'm interested to kind of like chart a course with the listener and with you,
Yep.
and be able to sort of bring this stuff into the show.
Totally. What was really good for me at one time, which you can fall back on, I believe, um, is when I like left and just wanted to fill in, like I didn't do anything for a while, but then I wanted to start like trickling in some work. And I talked about the mentorship stuff on the show, and it's not like definitely not a full time job,
Right.
um, but and has its own cons and whatnot. But it was pretty great. Like the
And
basically
like
like
that
you
type of stuff, like short engagement, like
yeah, it's tough because
high
you
value
make
stuff like
so
that.
much less money because it's like you put in a lot of effort for a bespoke hour or two. And
Hmm.
if you do 2 hours, you're like exhausted as can be,
Hmm.
and you only get 2 hours of your rate.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's definitely like the volume is not there.
Right. But it's
But
it's
to
interesting to
fill in
like
the
sprinkle
cracks,
in. Yeah.
totally, to fill in the cracks, like I had a ton of success with that, and I still do it for two people. Um, and just because I've I don't know, I've like established a relationship with them, I enjoy it. It helps refocus me because I'm like back into the learner shoes, or the not even the learner, people who do this with me are listening to this right now and they're not learners, but you know what I mean. It helps refocus me. So anyway, I've had a ton of success with it, and I know there are people listening to this show who, if they wanted, like if you were like, hey, let's do it, would hop on a call with you once a week, twice a month or something, for like, I don't know, 250 bucks or something, and
Yeah.
a pop, and get you to review their code and whatever. Like, there's a really good experience. You can always do that to fill in some gaps.
Yeah, and those are the types of things that I would love to like fill in the gaps with, right? Like sort of short, clean, clearly defined, high, like when I say high value, I don't just mean like monetary value, but like high value, like my time
Yeah.
is incredibly valuable, right? In the sense that like I put in 2 hours of work, but like the person buying that work probably gets more than just like the value of just like 2 hours of talking,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, the thing is, the money is really not there. Like, to reiterate that,
Yeah, like it's not
like
like
the
you
thing
can't build a career on that. Yeah.
that would be the worst career.
Uh-huh.
But you could, like, getting a solid client.
Hmm.
I mean, obviously, if you got a full-time client that paid you your freelance rate, that would be insane.
Hmm.
I don't think it would line up with what you want specifically, but I'm just thinking of like
Nope.
the times that I've gone out freelancing and whatever. It's like, it's so much, it's so nice if somebody, and it's so rare, but if somebody comes to you and says, yeah, I'll do your rate and let's do 6 months or let's do even 3 months. Like what
Mhm.
you have is solid.
Yeah,
It's great.
it's nice.
Got to figure out how to get those.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I think a lot of it just sort of comes down to uh, like there is work out there, and there's people who aren't yet ready to sort of scale up their team or whatever, right?
Yep.
And just kind of becoming that person, right? And like I'm looking a lot to people who are doing this successfully right now, right? Like I think like Jason Beggs is completely crushing this game right now,
For
right? Like
sure.
he's
Yeah.
doing an incredible job. And I think he's like definitely like demonstrating like what like sort of the high end of Laravel freelancing looks like, right?
100%.
I don't
High
think
end
there's
of independent freelancer.
yeah, I don't know how big the pie is of things that are at Jason's rate,
Yeah.
right? Like I don't know if there's enough of that pie for us to share it, right? But like I don't need to like bring in the rates that Jason brings in right now,
Right.
right?
For
Like
sure.
my main thing I'm buying right now is freedom, right? I don't need to buy a mansion. I just need to buy my freedom, you know? And like when I buy my freedom, I think I'm going to start seeking out other revenue streams and not just,
Get that
selling.
good passive income on the internet.
Dude, passive income online is the name of the
Passive income
game.
online. I never
But
say that right.
but like, I don't want to just be selling an hour of my time for an amount of money, you know?
No. Yes. And the secret to the Jason Beggs effect is like, so here's a guy who's got people like lined up at the door to give him money to do work.
Hmm.
I think sometimes it's that way, and I think other times it's not.
I think
Uh,
that's true of even
for
very
sure.
successful
But I
agencies and
don't want to
stuff.
like make the false pretense that Jason, feel free to correct me, but I think it's like that, right? Like sometimes you're totally stacked, line out the door, turning people away, and other times you're looking for stuff.
I mean, he's definitely the most recommended guy on Twitter, right?
For sure, because
If
he's
anyone
excellent.
says who's a good freelancer, Jason Beggs, Jason Beggs, Jason
Yeah.
Beggs. Like
Like
the guy
there's
does impeccable work, and everyone who's worked with him or knows him wants to recommend it.
this is the thing that like Jeffrey did a Laracast snippet one time on how to be like the best freelancer ever. And like I want to give some sort of similar pitch of like literally, I mean, one, you have to have the smarts. Like that has to be there. But even though that's the hardest part, it's kind of the more common part, you know?
Hmm.
Like that's the more available part. Having the follow through and the ownership,
Yeah.
like those are the huge things. And I've hired like a bunch of people in the past year, and a lot of the relationships fizzle out or don't work out. And I know I've talked to people who hired other freelancers in the community, and it's like it's tough when you got somebody who's really focused on open source,
Hmm.
and they're or their own products, and doesn't whatever. So if I think the secret to Jason Beggs is that he's not going for like a million things.
Yeah.
He's going
He's
for like
fully committed to just like
be
crushing the
a
game he's
great
in.
freelancer and do that really well. And like he's people are just gonna want to keep using you
Hmm.
and recommending you. And yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
trying
And
to
I
think of
think
one other person. I can't even think of another person who's
like
at that level.
at that sort of, yeah.
Except Daniel Colborn now.
Yeah. Well, that's the goal, right? Is to like, to be a person who like, and the thing I think that like makes freelancers excellent is that usually they're brought on for like pretty scoped problems, right? Because if you had like a limitless mountain of sort of ill-defined work, you would just hire an employee, right?
Sure.
If you're bringing on a freelancer, it's because you have a pile of work you want to get done, but then you don't want to be on the hook for someone's salary once that work is finished,
For sure.
right? Um, and I think, I mean, I've been at agencies when we hired freelancers, right? And like, I think in a lot of cases, like, you just want this problem to go away and collect, your
Totally.
profit off the top, right?
Yes.
Like I've been at agencies that like farmed out work to people and then took a slice off the top, right? And in those cases, it's like, I want this work to go away. I want the problem to be solved. I want to not hear bad things from the client. And then I want to get my stuff. And then like best case scenario is like, I want to hear great things from the client. I want them to come back and hire us for another engagement or whatever.
Yep.
And like that's my goal here, right? Is like to go in and just be a person who you can like count on to like, hey, here's a problem or a feature set or a whatever or a refactor that I want to happen, and like you come out just like kind of with an excellent product, and like it wasn't that much of a hassle for you to do that,
Yep.
right? Like that. I mean, that's kind of,
Yeah,
I think,
you just want to like eat problems. If
yeah,
you're a
you want to eat
problem eater,
you want to be a sin eater,
if you're a
you know?
sin eater, you're golden. If you're like a self-motivated, self-organized sin eater,
Hmm.
oh man,
And I think
path
like,
is paved.
and I think the value of like the the years at Titan is that like I've been in every code base. You know, I've been in like the legacy, like what the hell is going on in this code bases. And I've been in the like fresh greenfield, like we need to get a ton of features shipped really fast so we can get our Series A code bases,
Right.
you know? And I love like internalizing
Mhm.
like the context of the code and like what's the context of this code
Mm.
and like how what actual approach to the code do people want and all this stuff. So anyway, I'm excited.
Dude, I'm such a I've like I mean you could probably say the same thing, but the way you just said that, we can circle back. But like people wanting to get features for their Series A. I
Mm-hmm.
remember a client that I was with at Titan, who it was a startup, and they had raised they had investors, but they were working towards their Series A, and they did want to go faster. And I didn't understand because I'm a noob, but I didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand. I was like, you're going to hurt the project if you just try to bring on more people to go faster. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It's like what you need to do is slow down and, like build properly and
Mm-hmm.
steadily and really evaluate and nitpick every feature and all that stuff. But like they had a different goal in mind, and I didn't understand it.
Well, and like what they know, right, is like, yeah, we will hurt the project doing this, but we'll kill the project not doing this.
Mm.
Right? Like the
Hmm.
company won't exist in 6 months. We don't have the runway to do this anymore. So like
Yeah.
we need this cash infusion right now or else this company doesn't exist. So like that's why we have to go fast.
Yep. Yeah. Pretty wild. Um. Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
Daniel.
Yeah. Also got a new dog.
Dog.
Dog. Yeah, dude, Big Mac's in the house. For the YouTube. Oh, Max, where are you?
Big Max.
For the YouTube audience, we'll show Max. Max,
PM.
come here, bud. Come here. Hey, Max, come on up.
Oh, he's so
Come on up, bud.
super well behaved dog for a brand new dog,
Yeah,
bro.
I know. Check this guy out. This is
Wild.
Max. Max
Max
is
is
a
so
very
big
good
and
boy.
fluffy and beautiful.
Very fluffy, very beautiful. Mwah, a very sweet boy. Thank you, Max. It's
Bud.
been nice to have you on the show. But yeah, got Max. Max is a old English sheepdog doodle. So he's very furry. He's very hairy. He's 83 pounds. He's a big and very sweet boy. He's a year old,
Wow.
and I love him very
He's so
much.
chill for a
He's so
year.
chill and so sweet, but also like insanely playful and like very into like chasing things. Like if you throw, like he loves to fetch and he loves to do all the like sort of outside running around stuff.
Really?
We're working on pulling on the leash. So Charlotte and I have adopted a system we found online where like when he pulls, you like walk backwards and then bring him close to your body
Okay.
and then like spin him around you. Right. So like, cause what he's doing when he pulls is like, I want to go to that thing over there. Like I want to
Yeah.
decide where we're going. So you immediately say, no, you don't decide where we're going. I decide where we're going.
Mm.
All right, now we're going to back up. So that's the opposite of what you want. And then we're going to spin around. So like you get distracted from whatever it is that you
Mm.
were obsessed with.
Okay.
And then we'll just like randomly change directions and go in a different direction.
Oh, word.
So what he learns is like, if I want to get to something that's out in front of me, the only way I can guarantee that is
Chill
if I
out.
like chill out and then we'll get there.
Yep. I dig it.
Yeah.
Um, that's great, dude. How can I ask how much dogs are? How much did you like pay for that
Well,
dog?
so I got, so this is like absolutely unreal. This dog is never in a shelter, right? Like
Okay.
you never see this dog in a shelter
Yeah.
except for
It
the
looks like a pretty
12-hour
clutch
period,
dog.
except for the 12-hour period that I was at this shelter,
Okay.
right? So we went to this place called Brother Wolf in Asheville, which is like a dope, like animal rescue place in Asheville. And we went to see this other dog named Wilson. And we get there and they say, Wilson got adopted. Like, good for Wilson. You want to see some other dogs? And I say, of course I want to see some other dogs. So we like go in and start looking at dogs, and they're all very sweet and very nice, and we're liking all of them. And we're like, maybe that one, maybe that one. And then I see like 4 cages down. I'm like, Charlotte, look. And I just see this like floofy old English sheepdog head sticking out of the cage. And Caleb, I have always wanted an old English sheepdog. And
Never not.
I have told Charlotte about this many times because when I was a boy, like 12 or 13, we were playing like cops and robbers in a park, and an old English sheepdog just like appeared. I was like alone and hiding in a pile of leaves, you know,
Yep.
because cops and robbers. No one was around. It's a giant park. And an old English sheepdog just appears and is like, "What's up, dude?" And he jumps up and like puts his arms on my shoulders, and we're like bouncing around,
Just
dancing,
vibing.
me and this old English sheepdog. And then its owner runs up, it's like, "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." I'm like, "No, dude, we are chilling." And so anyway, it was like one of the greatest like dog interactions I've ever had.
And
Was just
best
like,
games of cops and robbers you've ever had.
yeah, just this incredibly like cheerful, joyful, fun-loving old English sheepdog appeared out of nowhere. It's just like a giant bear, and like wanted to like put its arms on my shoulders and dance around.
Sweet.
So I've always wanted one, and I've told Charlotte this, but they're like $2,000 to $4,000 if you want to buy one for a
Okay.
breeder,
Yep.
and they don't end up in shelters, you know.
Yep.
Um, and we just walk into a shelter. Here's the dog. We pay $100 adoption fee. We
Ooh,
got the dude.
good deal,
Amazing,
bro.
unreal,
Good deal.
unreal.
It's like going to Amvets and seeing I don't know, like a North Face.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's like getting like a
Like a
Gucci
Yeti
belt.
cooler or
It's like
something at like
it's like getting a
Goodwill.
Gucci belt at Goodwill. Yeah.
Sick, dude.
But yeah, he's a very sweet boy, and he's very good. And yeah, I
That's
like it.
great, Deke.
I like it a lot.
Good for you and good for Max.
Yeah. So I've got, I'm entering into my 30s with a new dog, with a new career, with a new outlook on life.
A lot of new
I'm
going
feeling
on.
great. Feeling great. Very new. Nothing's familiar, but like, what do you got to lose?
Nothing,
You can
dude.
always get another job. Like,
That's
let's
right.
just go. Let's
No,
just
that's
go.
for real. That is for real. And you're going to let this day mark the day where Daniel charts out and changes his life forever.
That's the
Okay?
plan, dude. That's what I'm saying.
That's what it is. It's like, most people should do that, you know?
Yeah.
We'll see. Unless you fall on your face, which could
Yeah.
happen, but we'll
Which,
log it on the show. We'll reflect back on this moment
oh, dude, the
because
falling
we're
on
going to
my
be coming
face
back to you, the
episode is going to
listener,
be
to give
great.
Daniel another job.
Yeah. Be like, all right, Daniel needs a job.
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is going to be the day. This
Yeah.
is the day that changes Daniel's life.
Yep. Um,
Yep.
my goal, is to replace my salary, right? Like, I just
Yeah.
want to make the amount of money I already make.
Cool.
And if I do that, like, this will have been a successful year. If I don't do quite that, but I still do pretty good, it'll still have been a successful year, but I
Hell
won't have
yeah.
hit my goals,
Because you got a huge raise in life.
Yeah.
But yes,
But what I
for
really
sure.
want is to hit my salary this year, beat my salary next year,
For sure.
just grow,
Yep.
hustle and motivate, as they say.
I dig, dude. I
I
dig it
dig too.
good. I dig it good
Mm,
like.
hmm. Real excited about my MacBook Pro too.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yo, did you see Jose is messing with Yabai? Remember we talked about Yabai, that like tiling window manager for the Mac?
Yeah, yeah.
Jose's like got it running.
He's doing some stuff.
It's sick, dude.
Word.
It's really sick.
Word, bud.
Word bud. Anyway, I think I'm gonna run Yabai.
Sweet. Let me know how it goes.
I will.
Daniel, I invested $250 in Gumroad.
Oh, right. Yeah, in their like scam investing operation.
Yeah, I did. I can
Hmm.
still back out if
Okay.
enough people tell me that it's a scam. But here's the story: is that the listener, Gumroad is an app that you can use to sell online goods. So Make VS Code Awesome uses Gumroad, and I use it for the sticker thing and probably for
Hmm.
another thing, but mostly Make VS Code Awesome. And it's cool and it's great. I mean, it works really well. Like for me, it's awesome to not have to worry about payment processing at all and just have a button that does it for you. It's really great. I like it a lot.
Yep.
So, so I got this email like Gumroad is doing an open board meeting. And I was like, oh, fun. I watch a lot of Shark Tank. Oh, and there's going to be a fundraising opportunity. And I'm like, I watch a lot of Shark Tank. I'm an investor now. Put me in, coach.
Hmm.
And
And
so I
for that
signed up.
reason, I am out.
And for that reason, I'm out. Yes. Nice. Oh, man. I could go for days on Shark Tank quips.
Yeah.
Um, so I go to this board meeting for this good fundraising opportunity. And I really do feel like, I don't know, it was just fun to see another like window into how the world works, to
For
just
sure.
see something like that. And it was fun. And then, the fundraising opportunity, and he presents it, Sahil, the, creator, he presents it, whatever. And basically the opportunity is he raised 1% from Jason Fried and 1% at $100 million valuation, which is $1 million. Cause I'm good at that
You're
type of
pretty
math.
smart.
I'm pretty good with that type of math. Yeah. There's a lot of ones and zeros I can do pretty well. Um, Jason Fried and Naval,
Hmm.
Naval.
Hmm.
So these two guys he raised $1 million from. So I'm like, oh, sick. Like I trust the hell out of these two guys, specifically the first guy.
Hmm.
Um, Jason Fried is a smart boy. And I'm like, this is, looking pretty good. And then he said he's going to raise another 5% from the community.
Hmm.
So 5
So he's
million
looking
from the
for another
community.
5 milli.
He's looking for another 5 mil. And he's going to use this platform called Republic, which is like what's it like? Actually, interesting. Isn't the other one called Public? Are they related? The app Public. Yeah, literally. What's up with that? The investing social network, public.com.
Hmm.
And this is Republic. Weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, so whatever. It's like a nice little SaaS app, and like he's gonna use that, and it's like Stripe or something. You just like log in, give him your bank account, and you can buy stuff. You can
Hmm.
invest in startups. You know. So anyway, so I was like, what am I gonna do? Like, should I invest a ton? At the moment, I'm like, this is gonna soar because
Hmm.
they have nothing but growth,
Hmm.
over the past whatever. Like they never went down in revenue. They
Hmm.
always go up. And last year they doubled their revenue.
Yeah. And it seems like
Um,
they could put $5 million to use to really expand their offering.
sure. Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, for
Like
sure.
with an extra $5 million, which is why they're raising money,
Right. When
right?
I'm using Gumroad, I'm thinking like they could use an extra 5 mil. There's
Yeah.
parts of it that you're like, come on, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so anyway, so I thought like this is great. This is a sure thing. I really felt like I had like insider access to like a sure thing.
Hmm.
So I put the mark on my calendar, March 15th at noon p.m. and I was ready and waiting. But in the meantime, I talked to a few people, specifically the WAD man, of course, the man of all knowledge, and got a little bit more of the inside scoop, which is not that inside, that Gumroad is like a failed startup and there's all this drama. You saw all that, right?
No.
So basically, Sawhill, he like 11 years ago when he started Gumroad, he raised like $7 million or something,
Hmm.
and he was like a high growth startup, and hired a bunch of people and couldn't grow the company. It's just like trickle growth,
Hmm.
and like he grew a bunch and then he stopped growing.
Hmm.
So all the investors were like, basically, were like, "This is a lemon. I'm out."
Hmm.
So what he did, I forget the order of events, but he basically like it was more trouble for them. One of the board members left, so they would have had to like replace a board member, and they were like, you know what? Rather than doing this, here's your equity back. Give us like $1 or something. So
Hmm.
he like basically got all his equity back for free from that $7 million. He just bagged $7 million for free.
Wild.
Then he let 75% of the company go, like employees,
Oh, employees. Okay. I thought you meant equity. I was
to
like,
just
what?
trim his expenses because it's not growing, and
Hmm.
he was way overextended. And then the other bunch leave, and it's like I think it was just him, maybe one other guy. It was just him, this failed startup that he raised 7 million, got to keep it all, and then he just started growing it naturally with the market, slow
Hmm.
growth type deal. And now it's back to being an app that hires people and whatever, and is like pretty, it's definitely profitable. I think 1 million in profit a year, 10 million in revenue.
Hmm.
Um, so anyway, so that's the hidden story, is that like this guy is a super failure who all the employees who were on this ship with him, they all went down and have zero equity. He's basically took $7 million from investors, and no one's getting money but him.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody owns Gumroad except for Sawhill and now Jason Fried, Naval, and me.
Yeah.
But so that's so like Nathan Barry, the creator of ConvertKit, he came out and was like, for everybody asking me about Gumroad, I would not recommend it because this guy claims to care about creators and he screws creators, the
Mm-hmm.
people who helped him build his
The people who
company.
actually created Gumroad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He's not what he says he is. But, you know, and then people coming to his defense and even Nathan saying like, and I'm sure Sawhill is just a guy who got totally burned out, thought, you know, tried something big, didn't work, got totally burned out and is now growing it from scratch. But he called him out like, you can still make this good, Sawhill. Like, you can still make it good on these people, you
Mm-hmm.
know. You can give them equity.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, you know, he's not. Um so I don't know, man. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, this ultimately comes down to my labor politics thing, which is that everyone deserves equity, right?
Oh, sure. Okay. I guess
Right.
I care about your labor politics and I do want to hear those, but I
Yeah.
also want to know like, what do you
Is this a
think?
good
Would you put
investment?
$250 in? I mean, $250 is nothing. So my question is, would you put money in, you know?
Well, on the one hand, 100% of the money anyone has ever invested with this guy got burned in a big pile of money,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
So not like a track record of like a good
But
investment
not if
vehicle.
they left it in there. You know what I mean? Like who knows if he only started working on the company just cuz everybody else left and now he realized he has 100% equity and he
Sure.
cares about it,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Like that's
That's almost
possible.
certainly what happened, right?
But you know, I guess like here's the thing I tell myself to make myself feel good is for Sawhill to make money on Gumroad from like an acquisition or an IPO or something, like I have to make money, you know? Like he's not going to
Sure.
make money unless I make money.
Unless he's just sitting on fat stack of a fat stack of or a big fat salary or something, right? He's just sucking down like a huge salary.
Right. He could be doing that.
He could just be in a cushy job riding this thing till the wheels fall off, padding it with random investments from creative investment vehicles.
For sure. I mean, the 5 mil is over. That was over in no time.
Yeah.
You can't invest in Gumroad right now.
Right. So which means he just raised another $7 million, right?
Yeah, he
Which is
actually
like
upped it to 6 million, I think. So yeah, 7 million.
so
Yep.
well he raised $1 million each from Naval and Freed, right?
Oh no, it was
A
shared.
million combined. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, he just raised another $7 million,
Yeah.
right? After the first $7 million they lit on fire.
Right.
Um he's got another $7 million and he's either gonna just like use that as runway, you know, and just kind of float the thing how it is, or he's going to like invest it a bunch in hiring people and expanding the app and doing all kinds of new stuff
Yep.
and just hope that the market has grown since the last time that he had a bunch of money to throw at that market,
Yeah.
you know, and hope that it becomes really profitable. And I don't know. I'm really interested. So, like, what is the actual structure of the deal? Because this is the thing that it's a revenue share, right? You just bought a revenue share. You didn't actually buy equity in the company, or did you?
Oh, I don't know things. So I don't think, no, I don't think I own stock.
Yeah.
But
That's the
tell me
thing that,
more.
well, that's
Yes,
just the
revenue
thing that,
share. Yes, it is a rev share. Explain to me rev share.
well, rev share is just like you get a percentage of dollars that come in.
But when?
I don't know. I mean, it depends on the structure of the deal, right?
There's
So it could,
no dividends.
okay.
Like I think my only
So you would just get a percentage of like a liquidation event. Is that what it
right,
is?
I'm pretty sure. But how does that work? Like what is that?
What if they don't liquidate?
Right, right. That's the risk is that there's no liquidation event.
Right.
Um but if there's no liquidation event, he doesn't make money. He doesn't make money from his 90% of the company, you know?
Why not? Like, what if there's just a profit in the company?
Sure. I guess I
He could
mean
just
like
disperse.
to sell the company and make a
So I
bunch
guess
of money.
maybe if he takes a disbursement, he also has to share that out. Maybe that's how that works.
If he takes a disbursement, he also has to share that out.
So
Probably.
so say
Yes.
like at the end of the year he's got an
Right,
extra
right.
$2 million in profit. If
Yeah.
he wants to like put like take some of that money out and pay himself a bonus or something, he probably
Right.
has to like pay you
I don't
guys.
know, dude. I
I
would
don't
think
know.
that's what dividends would be, and he's not doing those.
Yeah, so I don't really understand what your investment gets you
No,
except for
neither
like
do I.
that's kind of the thing. Like if it was equity, that would be one thing. If it was stock, that would be one thing. But it just a revenue share without like a regular payout schedule is kind of sketchy.
I'm just donating.
Yeah, you just
Here's the
donated
thing. Like
$250
I
to
know
me.
that's what I'm doing, and I feel like I still want to do it cuz like everything I do with my money is the, like index funds boring whatever. I
Hmm.
never pick stocks because I've read enough to know that that's like not
Yeah,
really a
yeah.
winner's game. And I want to know how this world works. And I feel like if I put in $250, it's not a meaningful amount of money. So whatever,
Yeah.
I'll like it's not a meaningful enough amount of money that I care if I lose it,
Hmm.
but it's a meaningful enough amount of money that like I kind of want to watch it, you
Yeah, yeah,
know?
yeah,
I
for
just
sure.
want to know like how does this world work?
Yeah.
It's a
You know what I've
gamble.
always envied that I think would be kind of cool in the Laravel community?
What's that?
So professional poker players always have a piece of each other.
Hmm.
So when you go, if you're like a certain level of poker player, right?
Yeah.
Like above like, like a tiny stakes player or whatever, and you go to like enter a big tournament, right?
Yeah.
Like the chances of you coming into the money are like pretty low, right? Or not like pretty low, but like there's a decent chance that you don't actually make a profit
Sure.
entering this poker tournament, right?
Mhm.
Because there's a element of chance in who you end up at the table with. There's an element of chance in what cards you get, you know. So there's like a decent chance that you do that. So you want to hedge your risk entering a big tournament. What you do is you and your friends all take a piece of each other's action, right? So you basically say,
Yep.
I've got 15% of you, you've got 15% of me,
Yeah,
right?
that's cool.
And
Yep.
so that way,
That's pretty
if
cool.
I end up in the money, you get 15% of my winnings
Yep.
after the entry fee is covered,
Right.
right? And if you end up in the money, you get 15% of my winnings after the entry fee is covered.
Yep.
And if you select your pool well, where it's all people who have a better than average chance of being in the money,
Yep.
right? Then like your chances increase for like every person you have a part of who ends up in the money,
Yep.
right? And so it's all about this thing where like poker players will like basically have like a group of friends who they trust and know to be good poker players who are all like have a pretty good chance of ending up profitable.
Hmm.
And then like as long as like 60% of us make a profit, then like we all make a profit. So like that type of stuff is really interesting. I think it'd be really cool in this kind of like independent like bootstrapper or entrepreneur or like guy who makes courses or whatever world,
Right.
right? If like say a bunch of people are all releasing info products at the same time, and like right now everyone just kind of promotes each other's stuff because like
Right.
like we like
Yeah,
each
but
other
like
and we
I
want
have
each
a
other to do
stake in
well.
Tailwind
But
UI
it'd
or
be
something.
yeah, it'd be cool if like Tailwind took like a part, well they call it taking a piece of, right?
Okay.
So like if Tailwind had a piece of make VS Code awesome and you had a piece of uh Tailwind UI launch for the first like 2 months or whatever,
Right. Right.
and like if you like so you sort of guesstimate it like approximately like okay, well like a 10% stake in refactor or in make VS Code awesome is worth like a like a 1% stake in Tailwind UI for a month, or
Yep.
like whatever you figure out like what you guess your revenue is going to be. But
Right.
it's all just kind of guesses and it's all pretty informal and the percentages are low enough that like if you get screwed you get you whatever, who
Yep.
cares,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
but like you have a decent chance of like taking a windfall every now and then. And it's just kind of like
Yep.
a cool thing where like everyone has a piece of each other. It really increases the like rising tide lifts all boats mentality of the
Yeah.
community. So I
Right.
would love to see something like that go down. I don't
That's
actually
cool.
know what it would look like, and it'd have to be like pretty informal.
Right.
But the thing that I think that you're talking about with the Gumroad thing is like, people, old school tech people who like were around like in the like Pirates of Silicon Valley days.
Yep.
Like I always envy those people who were like, yeah, I just always knew like Atari was a winner,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
like I got it. And it's like the the system of tech has become so dehumanized that there's no getting in on like, oh yeah, I knew TikTok was a winner or whatever. Like the IPO system is so screwy where like if a company IPOs, like you don't have a chance at getting any of the stuff,
Mm.
any of the stock. Like
No. Why not?
the only way to because so they shop the book around and like all of the banks have an opportunity to buy stock before you do, and
Gotcha.
they're the ones who are going to make a profit. By the time
Yep.
it gets to retail investors, that profit is
Gotcha.
usually gone.
Yep.
Um, or that margin is usually gone. But
Yeah.
like if but like I kind of envy that world where it's like all these companies were going public and everyone kind of had stock in each other's tech companies, and like everyone,
Sure.
it's just like it just seems cool, right? It seems like a good fun time of just like,
Agreed.
wow, those guys are making a chip and these guys are making a whatever, and Texas Instruments just made a calculator, and Compaq is reverse reverse engineering the IBM source code to like make a clone,
Mm-hmm.
and like you got a little piece of all the action. It just like it's fun,
Yeah. And our
like
like this community is really boring. It's just a bunch of people who are like disciplined self-starter bootstrappers, slow growth, disciplined self-starter bootstrappers. Like what's more
yeah,
boring than that? You know?
yeah,
And like I know I'm headed down that path,
hmm,
but like there's, I think I'll always have that part of me that's like, what if I just convince somebody to flood me with like a mill? You
yeah,
know? Like see if I get a $10 million valuation, flood me with a mill, see what I can do. What if I had $1 million dedicated to growing this business? Come
hmm,
on,
yeah, it'd be
could I
insane.
do? Like that would be so cool. It'd be like, hey Deke, you want a job? Mitch, you want a job? Let's go in this. Let's like
Yeah,
freaking do this thing
yeah,
and see what happens. And I don't know, like that whole concept is so intriguing to me.
hmm,
But every time I think about it, I'm like, oh, but I know well, like I can't just duplicate me, and I can't, we've talked about my woes in the past, but whatever. Like, and I'd have to get over some of those things. Like,
hmm,
maybe that is the way to do it. Maybe I do need to take on like some amount of money and turn. Like, if you could convert, if I think like the key is, can I convert dollars to value? You
hmm,
know, if I
hmm,
can convert dollars to value more efficiently than other people, or just efficiently,
hmm,
if I have a vehicle to convert dollars to value, that's
yeah.
what's up. And just hit that button,
By value, you mean more dollars,
Yes.
right? If you can multiply dollars, you're a winner.
Yes. And to an extent, I think I can.
Yeah.
It's just there's all the hangups surrounding that when you
Mhm.
extend yourself beyond your own sphere of influence, If I
Right.
extend myself beyond myself, now I
Hmm.
have to care about someone else, you know?
Yep.
That's like you haven't just doubled my mental load, you've quadrupled 10 times it, you
Right.
know? But like that's the path. Maybe that's just part of the story. Maybe you just buck up, jump
Yep.
in, you
Yep.
know? Interesting.
It's very interesting.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mm.
Equity is great though. Totally into it. We've talked about this before, but it's worth repeating that like it's so nice to have aligned incentives. It's also really nice to own everything. And
Hmm.
that's the struggle.
Hmm.
It's really nice to own everything, and it's really nice to have aligned incentives with people who work for you.
Yeah.
And you can't have both.
Right. That's the issue. Right.
That's the issue.
Um, and there's also like the downside that like you can't like ethically own everything. That's the issue, right? Is like
Well, they're right. That's the political. That's the other
that's
side.
where the
That's
politics
that's
comes
the
in. And right.
further.
And that's the thing that I'm gonna run into when I get to the point where like I take on enough work that I have to like bring someone on or turn this into an agency or something,
Yeah,
right?
and you just become Moneybags Daniel,
Right. And
and
then
everybody starts calling you on your hypocritical bullshit.
yeah, and that's like that's the part I think that I'm most excited about, honestly,
Yeah,
is
cool.
like having to navigate those waters and like make moral and ethical choices and see if I can actually put my money where my
Right,
mouth is.
and
Like
I
I'm
think you can.
incredibly excited about that.
I think you will.
It's
If
just a
I'm a
question of
betting
like how
man.
many people will actually want to like work for a company like that, because it's like like you're asking for other people to take a risk too.
What's the risk?
Well, it's like I'm going to structure your pay really weirdly. It's not going to be like a
Oh,
normal,
sure. I mean, like people who work at startups and businesses have options, and that's like factored into their pay all the time. Like
Yeah,
Mitch
yeah.
doesn't make a huge salary, but he's got like good stock options.
Hmm.
That's like part of it,
Hmm.
which is interesting because it's actually like super tantalizing, but super. Did you get stock options at Internachi? You
It's a
get any
nonprofit.
piece of that
It's a
pie?
nonprofit. It's not like that.
Nonprofit. Psh.
Yeah. Yep.
um, but having to vest those
Hmm.
options is like
Ugh, it's hell.
that's rough, man.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
huge upside, but
I've
like,
got a
what?
friend
I got to
who's
work for you for
I've got a
3.
friend at Dropbox,
Ugh.
who's like vesting at Dropbox, but
How
has
long? How
like
long is it?
it's years. You
Right.
know, it's a couple more years, I think.
Dude,
But
what's up with
like,
that?
it's a huge chunk of stock.
You know what we need? We need to create an abstraction on this and
Mhm.
have stock option mules that just like
Oh,
hold jobs well,
uh-huh.
just like do well enough, and like they get kickbacks from people like me who really don't want to waste 3 years of my life at Dropbox to, just
Hmm.
like, I'll pay you, you slug it out for 3 years, right?
Yeah.
We got to
Well,
figure
there
that
was a
out.
guy I remember recently who just got, I think either went to jail or just got like sued really hard because he had like multiple full-time remote programmer jobs,
Oh my gosh,
and
just
he was
racking
farming
up
them out
the
to guys in Ukraine.
equity. Oh man,
Like he had like an agency in Ukraine that was actually do writing his code, and he would just like
that's
go to stand up
crazy.
at like multiple companies. And
That's
then
wild,
like
dude.
something, something with the IRS or something, like someone figured it out,
Yeah.
and he was basically like defrauding all these companies. But like how dope would that be? Like you're paying out like 40 grand a year or whatever in like programmer hours, and you're racking up like 3 full-time, dev salaries, and you're just hanging out. It'd be
Yep.
crazy.
Crazy pants. I got a question for you about valuations.
Hmm.
So Gumroad has raised that money at $100 million valuation. I do think that, like, if it was just a crowdsourced fundraising, like, I think people who invested are people like me who are idiots and don't know anything, and he could have put any valuation he wants. So like saying you got this valuation from like a Kickstarter type
Hmm.
deal is not valuable because the people who are investing don't know shit about anything.
Hmm.
Um, that's what I'm gonna say, guess. But like Jason Fried and Naval, whatever, like whatever. I want to know is if their revenue is $10 million and
Hmm.
they risen fundraised at 100 million valuation, 10 times revenue.
Hmm.
Is that like off the charts crazy stupid, or is that like, oh, that happens all the time?
So I think they would have a hard time selling the company right now for 10x revenue.
Hmm.
Um, Usually those valuations are because they predict that, like, given this influx of cash, they're going to be able to
Is that called a
increase.
post money valuation?
That I don't know,
Because he did say pre money valuation, which I think means like,
which means they think it's worth that now.
right, pre money valuation is a pre-money valuation is a term widely used in private equity venture, referring to the valuation of a company or asset prior to an investment.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
So pre-money and post-money
Yeah.
valuation.
So I think he's saying it's a pre-money valuation.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah. So I don't know. I mean, he could be taking everybody for a ride. It's a really interesting strategy though. Like
Yeah.
to have a bunch of fans, and I mean it's like let's just say that I was like, I'm gonna I'm gonna crowd fundraise for like, yeah, let's say 5% of Livewire and Alpine, whatever.
Yep.
Just like I'll name the business. Let's give it a name, like Tailwind Labs did. It'll be
Hmm.
like whatever, something labs. We get some revenue going, and then I fundraise. And let's say I get a valuation. Let's say if I can work up to 1 million in revenue, just like lofty
Right.
goals here. Let's
Right.
say I work up to 1 million in revenue and I get a valuation of $10 million and I sell
Sure.
10% of the company for 1 million and I crowdsource $1 million from the community,
Hmm.
that would be wild.
It would be
You
nuts.
think I could do it?
A million's pretty juicy.
That's juicy. But
I
isn't
bet
that
you could do
really
half.
interesting
I
to
bet you could do half
like
pretty easily.
crowd fund? Is there a way to crowd fundraise without like getting the SEC involved? Or do you have to like
I,
meet all
I
that shit?
extremely doubt it.
Oh, what's up with that? Why can't I just be like,
Well, I don't
you
know.
know,
That's probably the service these apps provide, right?
probably, but I think you have to actually like, you know, be
But they
approved for
probably make it a lot
stuff.
easier. Um,
But that would be really cool, like super small time investments. Cause that's the stuff that I have clarity on. Like I would invest in Spotsy. I would invest, I would invest in all these little
mhm.
fellas, you know?
Well, so the interesting thing there would be like, like if I was just like doing due diligence on you before I invested,
Yeah.
the thing that would end up killing the investment probably would be that you're
My looks.
that you just look like such a
Look like a
shaggy nightmare.
yeah.
Um no, it would be the fact that you're pegged to like basically an experimental feature of GitHub.
Oh, word.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like so much of your revenue is pegged to like GitHub continuing to maintain and use GitHub
Yeah.
sponsors and
Yeah,
like
and good for you. In fact, I actually just lost uh my GitHub contact, Devin.
oh really?
Yeah,
Did
I
Devin
I
move on?
emailed her about a feature and she was like, "Oh, Caleb, thanks for reaching out. Let me introduce you to Luke. This is my last day at GitHub." And I was like, "Oh shit, man!" I was like, "This is the first." It was the first kind of like, "Yeah, you're really out on a limb here," you know.
Yeah.
I don't think GitHub sponsors is going away for sure, but the
Yeah.
person who assured me of that is gone now. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Which I just didn't anticipate because I'm learning the way the world works. I'm still
Yeah.
a baby.
And I think that's the only thing that I think would like really like
Yeah.
make it like if you could get that money out of GitHub somehow, like you would.
Yeah. And I think so. I think with Alpine, I'm going to do, I think I'm going to do a more like traditional product and not use GitHub sponsors.
Mm,
It's tough, but even if I do use GitHub sponsors for the product, not a big deal. If I'm, what matters is not doing a subscription based thing.
mm-hmm.
Because if it's not subscription based and it's a one-time payment, who cares if I use GitHub sponsors? I can switch to
Right.
something else.
Yeah. That makes
Um,
sense.
so that's what I've realized because I'm actually talking with GitHub sponsors about a new feature, about a one-time payment feature,
Mm-hmm.
to see if I can actually use one-time payments to sell like an Alpine product. You know,
Are they gonna let you?
totally. If they're gonna get me on the feature flag. It's not like done
That's
yet,
so sick.
but they're gonna get me in the beta, hopefully pretty soon.
Shout
Yeah.
out to Luke.
Shout out to Luke, man, and
Luke
thank you,
Luke
Devin.
Devin's replacement Luke.
Yeah. Um,
Do we know where Devin's going?
I don't actually. Wonder if she tweeted about it. She's baller, dude. She
Yeah,
would be.
that's what I'm thinking. Is like, where do you go from being like product lead on the most exciting feature at GitHub?
Yeah, right.
Like, it's got to be like LinkedIn or Salesforce or Microsoft. Those are the people who have enough money to pay you what you're worth, right?
Yeah. Um, let's see. Devin, product at GitHub. I hope I didn't just drop something that's not supposed to be known. Whatever.
Whatever.
Um, yeah. Oh, dude, should we talk at all? We don't have to. But I did just record a Building Livewire podcast
Mm-hmm.
called Open Source is Not First Come First Serve,
Hmm.
and put it out there. And because I just opened Twitter, I saw Joseph Silber, who listens to the show.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Shouts out Joe.
Shouts out to Joseph. He's a great guy. He just retweeted like, I haven't even listened and I'm already nodding my head in agreement. Um, so it's, I mean, this is like the topic that I spend like most of my time thinking of in terms of like, I don't know. Open source is just something that is really nebulous, and there's always questions of ethics and morals and etiquette. And this is
Mm-hmm.
another big one. Um, what do you think? What do you think when I say open source is not first come first serve?
So I think what that means is that like you can't get scooped, and like if you make a better thing, your thing will be successful. That sounds like that's what you're saying.
Yes, like no scooping. Like I love no scooping. I still think we should say no scooping. I haven't changed my opinion
No
on like
scooping is
dropping a cool
that's
idea and then being
respect.
like, yeah, it's respect.
Scooping
Like
is disrespect.
scooping is disrespect for sure.
Yeah.
But open source is not. Here's what I mean by that. My statement is basically, if I create, I'm going to pick on Marcel because this is actually nothing at all against him at all, but he's the most like non-dramatic example of this I can think of. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to use it. You know, he's like the worst example of this.
Mm-hmm.
He created the Liveware dev tools. Good for you, Marcel. Love it. Going to use it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say that I started Liveware. Tons of people ask me about creating dev tools, and I'd always be like, go for it, dude. Do whatever you want. But I might just trounce it in the future. And I'm sure I told him
Right.
that if he asked me. He doesn't even have to ask me. You can build whatever the hell you want to build.
Right.
But I think a lot of people ask in hopes that I'll be like, you're my DevTools guy. We're going to, you're going to be the official DevTools guy. You're going to get linked
Sure.
on the README. This is going to be your launching pad. And
Right.
I never say that because why would I? You
Right.
know, um, where so my position is like, I got to batten down the hatches. What's that? Is that a word?
That's a word.
Great. I'm the one who's got to like make Livewire good and bug free
Mm-hmm.
and work on it. And I don't have time to make the dev tools.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell people, yeah, go ahead and make the dev tools, solve the problem in the community, but I might trounce you at some point, you know?
Sure.
So think about the instances where people fill a hole in a community, it's really appreciated by the community, and they start putting time in, and it
Mm-hmm.
becomes their thing. They
Mm-hmm.
name it, becomes their own stake.
Yes.
Then, if I want to do that, I
Mm-hmm.
have I have all sorts of questions of like, oh, do I just totally trounce this guy
Mm-hmm.
and this project and kill it because I'm the big fish?
Mm-hmm.
Do I is it ethical? Am I taking something from him or her? Is it better, like, is it more original? Did I take some innovation that they made? And you know what I mean? There's just so many questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I've basically come to now, open source is not first come, first serve. Just because you build something and it got traction, you know, doesn't mean that I don't like ripping people off,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't, if it's an obvious thing, like again, DevTools or a component library
Mm-hmm.
or state management for Alpine, or there's 100 examples of
Yeah,
these,
it's
or
like
the
just
mobile thing
because
for Livewire that we
it's
talked
like
about.
just because your sort of family has like been making, like artisan cowboy boots in this town for the past 100 years doesn't mean that we shouldn't demolish it and build a Walmart on top of it.
See, I don't even think that's the case.
They sell cowboy boots at Walmart.
I don't think it's an apt comparison, but I hear you. Like, I think probably the extreme of my statement is that for sure.
Right. Well, and that's that. I mean, like, obviously, I'm like making fun of you, right? But I'm just saying that, like, if you're going to say that it doesn't carry all the way to that logical conclusion, you also have to say why and where the line is.
Right. All right, let's figure it out. So to me, it's like the line rests in like maybe it's like a quantification of innovation.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've like remixed some things like
Mm-hmm.
PHP and Laravel and Vue and Phoenix Live View. I've remixed all of these things
Mm-hmm.
that are all remixes of other things, but they brought their own value. I'm remixing them to provide a bunch of value in a thing called Livewire. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you could use Livewire and remix things and create another thing off of it, of course. But I think what it is if there's something there has, right, competition is key to this,
Mm-hmm.
but you've already identified that with the cowboy boots scenario.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the difference is like the cowboy boots were there first, the people building the cowboy boots.
So were Laravel Dev or Livewire Dev Tools.
Right. So Livewire DevTools is a feature off of Livewire.
Sure. So it's because it's a derivative work.
Yes.
So open source is first come first serve as long as it's not a derivative work.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's start there. Can
Because
we establish that? Like,
you
should
tell
we at
me.
least?
Well, because say it wasn't a Livewire thing, right?
Okay.
Say there was okay, here's a great example, right? So like say I make a package, right? That is like a really like Faker. Faker is a great example,
Okay.
right? So
Yeah.
like Faker, say the guy from Faker didn't actually like just quit doing Faker,
Yep.
right? Which he did. But like say he didn't. Say he was like feeding his children with Faker and he
Sure.
had like an active GitHub sponsors thing and he was just like doing Faker,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But like a lot of his Faker installs come through other frameworks and like
Like,
all
let's
this
just say
stuff.
Laravel. They all come through Laravel.
Well, let's not say they all come through Laravel. Let's say like a big portion of them come through Laravel,
Sure.
right? And then at some point, Taylor's just like, I don't like having this in my composer JSON. Like I've gotten like horny for the idea of having less dependencies, and so I'm just gonna kill.
And there's
this
a few
fake.
features I would do differently. Like I would build this API differently. So he's going
Yeah,
to create just
or even if he
his
doesn't,
Faker
let's just
facade.
say he doesn't, right?
Word. Okay. Whatever.
And he just is like, I want to kill this. I bet I could write the features I need in a weekend.
Yeah.
So I'm going to kill Faker. I'm going to rewrite Faker, and I'm going to implement that in Laravel, right?
Yep. Yep.
And he just took 40 grand a year out of that guy's kids' mouths,
Okay.
right?
Yep. Sure.
Um, is that okay?
Yeah, that's a really interesting one because that is definitely more like the big guy ripping off the little guy, like the big guy eating the little guy, and not.
Sure,
Well,
but Faker, Faker was there first, right? Faker
yeah,
was there before Laravel was there.
100%.
So like, started out, Faker was the big guy.
Oh well, I mean, Faker. I mean, I like in sort of in like project scope, like
Yeah.
they don't, it's not, it's not a one to one at all. But so let's say Taylor does that.
Mhm.
This is interesting because this is the root of all these problems is we don't have patents. We don't have copyrights. We have the
No, you do. You intentionally waived them.
exactly. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. We just like immediately bought into this open source thing with this MIT license that says, Taylor, go for it. Fork the thing. Copy and paste the entire code base, call it something else, and never give me credit.
Yep.
That is legally fine.
Mm-hmm.
And we agreed to that.
Mm-hmm.
We signed that paper.
Yep.
Dude, I mean, like, it's possible that like the result of this is that we need a better license for all these nuances.
They exist. Like
Sure. Okay.
the GPL is way better.
Well, no, I mean, I'm saying something that
There are many, many good copyleft
sure.
licenses.
I'm not saying copy left. Like, because I think that's like extreme,
Okay.
I'm saying something that is like what if it was even like, I don't know. We'd have to think about it, but anyway, so I would say that's allowed. Taylor can do that, and that's why we're left with these moral conundrums because there are no legal conundrums. You can do anything you want legally.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So now you're left with these ethical conundrums, and in that case, the Faker guy innovated, created something of value, and now Taylor is taking that, absorbing it, and killing that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's within his rights. It's not cool.
It's within his legal rights.
Is it even cool? No, it's not cool. Dude, that's the thing that's like super nebulous. But here's the example of like, if I fork Laravel,
Mm-hmm.
call it Schmaravel,
Mm-hmm.
get people and add one feature, add that Faker feature.
Here's a great example, right? The FAM thing. Say I do the FAM thing, right?
Yes.
Which kind of works, by the way. That's aside. We'll talk about that next week.
Right.
But say I release FAM and it's a great success, and it's basically like a base query builder based relationship class. And we talked about how like the thing Taylor should do is like just write a base
create
relationship
for query or whatever. Yeah.
Well, and just create a base relationship and then build all the other relationships as extensions of it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Say Taylor, here's the episode, and is like, that's good. I'll write that on my like 6 months from now. Think about it to-do list, right? Then in the next 6 months, I like build a whole business around FAM, and I'm like, I've got all these GitHub sponsors coming in, and my whole life is FAM, right?
Yep.
Then Taylor like comes around and is like, oh yeah, I should do that thing, right? Oh look, here Daniel just did it. I'll just steal the class, stick it in Illuminate support or Illuminate database, eloquent relationship.php, right?
Yeah.
And great. Now that's just a first party part of Laravel. My whole business is dead. But that is a derivative work.
Yeah. So this is an interesting one because in that case, my gut says, go for it, Taylor. Like, Daniel just made like a small innovation in the corner of Laravel and Eloquent that like the amount of innovation and originality that you've provided for Daniel to step on top of and then just make one step above does not justify him getting to preserve that step above. You get to make that step above. You know what I mean? Like you laid the foundation for everything that he already relies and depends and profits from. For this podcast, for Titan, for every app he's ever built, for every talk he's ever given. You know what I mean? It's like it's like we all have to figure out this who has more in the bank of originality and an offering and value offering. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you don't want to trounce somebody, and the more imbalanced it is, the more unethical the trouncing is. You know, like, so in that
Sure.
case,
So
go
like in a
for it,
perfectly
Taylor.
fair
Absorb it.
world, right? In a perfectly fair world, uh, we would be able to accurately calculate how much of the value of Laravel was created by importing FAM, right?
Sure. Yes.
And then I
Yes,
would
maybe
just own that small
you
portion of
get that
Laravel.
stake of Laravel
Yeah.
for sure.
Like in a perfect world, I would just get the exact proportional value of my labor,
Dude,
right?
oh my
And like
gosh.
it would be like, well, Taylor's done 50,000 times more labor on Laravel than I have, so I'm getting like 1/50,000th of the value of Laravel maybe for this, right? But there's
Like,
so yeah, it's an unknowable problem.
right. But think
And that's
about,
the thing is that like I think generally like the reason there aren't good answers to these questions is because we live in a fundamentally unfair system, right? And so trying to sit around and determine what's fair inside of a fundamentally unfair system of labor is like nothing's fair, you know? Nothing's fair. We're just trying to do as little harm as possible here, you
that's,
know?
I mean, that's totally what it is. Um, yep. Agreed. Sorry, I'm getting the, you said 5 o'clock and it's 5:13.
Okay,
um, it's all good, but I mean, this is like the most interesting stuff. We should totally pick this up.
let's pick it up.
Um, they're like, I'm thinking of like Android, you
Hmm.
know, like other apps um did screen dimming, you know, did like warm night, whatever. I can't even flux, you know,
Hmm.
stuff like that. Now it's part of Mac. I love
Yeah,
that it's part of Mac.
it's
It's
called
not its own
Sherlocking.
freaking separate app. Yeah,
It's called
exactly.
Sherlocking. I referenced it on the last show. I said if he gets
Yeah,
his
you
Sherlock
did.
hat on, but like
So
that's
that,
something Apple is known for. Is just like taking a great app and being like, thanks, we'll build that. Go to hell.
well, here's the thing with this. So fam, this is what I really mean when I say open source is not first come first serve. And call me on it. But you build fam, oh, so now I'm restricted from being able to come up with that innovation on my own. It incentivizes me to ignore the rest of the world, which I do because I don't want to like be super excited about everybody's thing that I can never build anything for my own, you
Mhm.
know? Because like, oh, all the good ideas
It's
are
like
taken.
how producers don't accept scripts from people because that
Oh,
means that if they
yeah,
ever wanted to
because
make
then I
that
saw
movie
it.
and then they're like,
Exactly.
oh no, you subconsciously stole it from this other guy.
That's what it is. I don't
Yeah,
want to be liable for subconscious thievery. So I actually drown out a ton. Like I try my best to drown everything out so that nobody can say, and I can say honestly, oh, I had no freaking idea. Like I was just going about my day innovating, you know?
yeah.
And that's the thing where like it's puts Taylor in a tough position when you introduce an innovation. You've now locked him up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why open source is not first come, first serve. You don't get to just lock Taylor up because you were the first one to do it, because you're the one who had all the time on your hands benefiting off of his labor. He didn't have the time because he's building the thing that you innovated on, you know?
Yep.
That's what I mean when I say open
It's
source is
hard.
not first come, first
It's
serve.
hard.
That is my belief.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is that like there's never a truly level playing field, right? Like Taylor always does have an advantage in any competition,
For
right?
sure.
And he earned some percentage of that advantage, but he also got some percentage of that advantage based on other people's labor,
Symphony.
right? Exactly. Well, it's like, and that's the thing is like everyone benefits from everyone else's labor. It's impossible to calculate like what an actual fair percentage is,
Yep.
right? And like we don't calculate at all in there like what people need. We only calculate like what people can get,
Hmm.
right? And that's just like it's an unfair system. But like say la vie, like we live in an unfair world, you know. Um, but yeah, we
Dude,
should
there were
talk.
patents in open source and in programming. I mean, there are software patents, but
Yeah,
like
Microsoft tried to do that at one point.
let's just say that I patent like I'm like oh, you can't send HTML. I'm patenting HTML over the wire, you
Yeah.
know? I
Uh-huh.
mean, other people did it before me. Let's say they patented it. And
We'll
then they
call
came
it
at me,
HOT wire.
right? They
Yeah.
came at me and were like, your product is based on HTML over the wire.
Yeah.
And then I would be like, oh, well, shit,
Well,
man.
HTML over the wire is based on TCP, so get out of here.
Yeah. That's the thing with software. It builds and builds and builds. And the thing, yeah, dude, I mean, it's all about having the authority and reach, and you get that. You get the brand authority and reach by innovating a lot and providing a lot of value. That's
Yeah.
what it is. And then you get the upper hand.
Well, and the thing is that like we've just, as open source has become a business, we've just gotten greedier, right? The people who invented TCP are not here with their hands out asking for your money.
Yeah. Oh, we've gotten so much greedier. Right.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, C plus the C compiler, GCU, GNU,
Yeah,
whatever.
GCC.
Yeah, the GNU compiler, GCC, whatever,
Yeah.
GCC. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, he's like, yeah, live it up. Linus is
No,
like,
well, yeah, that's, I think that's Stallman who wrote
yeah, it
GCC
is.
and
He's
is like,
yeah.
he doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't want your money.
He didn't
Like
he
he
invent
intentionally,
copyleft?
well, yeah, he invented like open source. Like he is the
Right. Yep.
chairman of the Free Software
He would be
Foundation.
looking at us. He would be so pissed. He would be so. I mean,
He
he hates
is. He
GitHub.
is.
He is
Yeah.
pissed, and he hates GitHub. And we are a part of the problem. We are anti-open source, dude.
Well, we're pro and anti, right? It's a dichotomy.
Yes,
We
it
have
is.
to do a whole other episode about this. We don't have time.
Okay, we don't have freaking time, dude.
My
Okay,
laptop also just got here.
sick, dude. Cue the
Yeah.
outro music now and go check out
Boom.
the laptop.
But
Okay, bro. We're still on
ooh,
YouTube, so don't take your shirt off yet or whatever you're gonna do.
I'm about to.
Okay.
That was fun.
Super fun.
Super fun, super fly.
Still on YouTube. Haven't stopped it. Okay, say goodbye to YouTube.
Goodbye, YouTube.